Hello and welcome. I'm Claudine Wong. I'm an anchor for KTVU and your moderator today. Welcome to this roundtable of candidates running for Brentwood City Mayor. The city of Brentwood is in East Contra Costa County. It is known for its agriculture, especially its corn. It is home to more than 66,000 people. Today's roundtable is sponsored by the Contra Costa County Elections Division, the League of Women Voters of Diablo Valley and West Contra Costa County, and Contra Costa Television with support from the cities of Antioch, Concord, and Walnut Creek. We are recording this roundtable live in the Martinez studios of Contra Costa Television. The candidates participating today are Susanna Meyer and Gerald Johnson. And prior to the start of today's program, the candidates drew lots to determine their speaking order. And we'll begin with Susanna. If we can just give you a chance to introduce yourself to the voters and tell us why you want the position of mayor.
Thank you. I am Susanna Meyer, and I have been the vice mayor of Brentwood for 2 years. I was elected to city council in 2020. I'm currently a wife, mother, grandmother, a Brentwood Lion. I am an executive director of a nonprofit serving 3 counties of the aging and disabilities community. And I'm really quite proud of the work I've done for the past 4 years. I think we've made some really great headway in a lot of areas, and I want the chance to keep that going.
Okay, Gerald Johnson.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gerald Johnson. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. I'm running for mayor because I believe in the power of community and collaboration. I've been a proud resident of Brentwood for over 22 years, and I've known firsthand the potential of the city to solve problems when we come together. Brentwood needs a leader who can unite the community around a shared strategy and vision and work towards solutions that benefit all residents. I'm the son of immigrant parents from Panama. I grew up learning the values of hard work and service. My father was in the U.S. Army during the Korean War, and my mother worked for the New York City school system. I've been fortunate to build a life here in Brentwood with my wife of 36 years, Audrey, raising 2 sons who attended public schools, Cray, Adams, and Heritage, and now are college graduates. Professionally, I've managed large-scale operations with portfolios ranging from $327 million to $1.1 billion, where I learned the value and importance of strategic planning and financial responsibility and leadership. These are the skills that I believe will be most valuable in managing a city like Brentwood. Currently, I own my own business in Brentwood and serve on the Planning Commission. I was privileged to guide the Brentwood Chamber of Commerce through COVID, through 2 terms as its 2-term president. And I worked hard to bring new businesses to Brentwood and strengthen our local economy. I'll do the same thing for Brentwood as its mayor.
Okay, so let's start with priorities in terms of what you think is the #1 priority that you'd want to address as mayor.
So the #1 thing I would like to do is get the city focused on a strategic vision and get a vision. And what do I mean by that? A vision focused around where we're going to go in the next 4 years, because right now our budget is at $80.2 million, and that's the budget. The revenues are at $77.4 million. That's the income, the revenues. So there's a shortfall there of about $3 million. The reason for that shortfall is, one of the reasons is because right now we have about 21% of that $80 million is coming from property tax. And $11 million of the $77 million is coming from sales tax. That's the business revenue. Over time, Brentwood has built their revenue up on property taxes and development, and now I think it's a time to shift more to getting some businesses in there to create more sales tax so that we can balance that budget.
Okay, and your priorities as mayor?
So you want to start with one, or would you
What would be the top priority?
The top priority right now for me is, it's around housing, but it's not just the obvious around housing. It is actually that Brentwood for several years grew too fast. There was a tendency to rely on developer fees because it brings amenities in. And so you end up with overcrowded schools, overcrowded roads, and not as much thought about infrastructure as all of these developments were being built. So we're at a point now, and we've been working on this for 4 years, of just trying to make sure that when projects come down, that we get the best possible project for the city, which can be very challenging because the state, of course, is taking more and more local control. So one of the really important things for us to do on a city council level is to pay attention to legislation, to really understand how that works. I'm part of the League of Cities. I'm part of the Mayors and Council Members Department, past president, and I was on the Housing and Economic Development Housing Policy Committee, because I want to learn more about how that works. Where can we stand? Where do we have to step back and say, okay, the state's taking over? The other part of that is the affordability factor, because we have a lot of people in Brentwood that unfortunately might grow up here and can't stay here. They have to move out of state, or excuse me, out of the city. So we have to be very careful about the affordability of it. We want our teachers to live within the city. When you do that, you're getting a much stronger community. Our police officers, our firefighters, they're people that are doing working jobs to stay in the city if they can, which causes then many of our residents to have to commute. So we really have to work on that affordability factor. And we did, I'm very proud to say, we got rid of in lieu fees. Developers can no longer opt out of providing affordable housing. And we raised the affordable housing inclusionary percentage, which is important to us, from 2% to 13%, which I think is a huge success. Any developments that have come in since we made that change have had to adhere to that percentage. So it means like we've got now 35 homes pending for families to move into that could not normally effectively buy a home for themselves and their families. It's something I'm very proud of.
Okay, so housing and strategic planning, I hear your two priorities. I want to give you a chance to kind of address what each of you have said about those two issues. So on balancing the budget, on revenue versus deficit and programs and cost, where do you see finding that to be a match and to even bringing, making more than you put out?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. It's something that we need to think about, because I mentioned that we grew too fast for so long because of developer fees. And so there was a tendency to rely on those. And so we are near our build out, and we have to be very careful about those monies, because they were a huge part of our revenues coming in for many years. Right now, property taxes are our highest, and our sales taxes are next. So we have been very focused on bringing business in. We're still at a very healthy 30% reserve, and we've done a great job whenever there is a surplus at the beginning of the budget year, looking at paying down some of the pension. So I would say our budgets is in a healthy place, and we are very definitely looking at bringing businesses in. We just got Costco. We've broken ground on it. In 2025, we should be looking at potentially $1 million in sales tax revenue. That's huge. So we've been working on some of these improvements in the business and economic development end, so that we can make sure we are counteracting the fact that some of our home developments are slowing down because we are close to build out.
Costco does make headlines where it
Yes,
lands.
it does.
Let's talk about housing for you, and in terms of where you stand on the issues of housing that Susanna raised.
So I do agree with Vice Mayor Susanna Meyer on the need for attainable, affordable housing. I call it attainable because I don't want anybody to think, oh, we're talking about bringing Section 8 or, that into the community. But I do agree with her. My son, he graduated from college, and he made a good salary, more than I ever made when I graduated from college, and he can't afford to live here in Brentwood. So I do agree. I would take it from maybe like the 13% where we are to maybe 16 or 17% to increase that a little bit. But I want to go back to that shortfall of, about $3 million in the revenue to the expenditures. And that's because we need to, we don't have a strategic vision of the city and understanding where we're going to be in 3 to 4 or 5 years, or even 3 years. As Vice Mayor Susanna Meyer mentioned, we have depended on housing, but that time is coming to an end because there are no more lands for us to put whole new swaths of homes in the city. We need to make a switch. We need to get new additional revenue into the city's coffers from businesses so that the residents of Brentwood can have the amenities they want, and they don't constantly have to travel outside of the community to get those revenues.
So in terms of economic development and economic vision, where does it go from here for you?
A couple things. I think we should focus on the PA1 Innovation Center, which the current council has done, but it's not part of the strategic plan that's on the city. There's 2 things on there, but that's not one of them. So I would make sure that we have it as part of the strategic plan, the Innovation Center. I would make sure that we focus on all the businesses in Brentwood to support them, get each one of those businesses to add an employee. That alone, to do that, if they're adding an employee and they're getting that revenue, that will bring more sales tax dollars in to help overcome that disparity between property tax and sales tax.
Do you want to your thoughts on economic development for
Right.
Brentwood.
So the Innovation Center at Brentwood is something that has been in the works for a couple of decades now. I'm very excited to say that we have recently done a lot of work that's actually setting up the infrastructure for it. For example, we have a lot of different landowners of that parcel, and we've been able to purchase the easements so that we can actually get started with the infrastructure, which of course leads to the next level. We are targeting, currently our economic development team is targeting med science, light industrial, mixed use. So we will have homes there. It's actually one of the places in Brentwood that is designated for apartments. Our RHNA numbers, our Regional Housing Needs Assessment, which is a state mandated number, means that we need another 1,500 homes. So some of the ones that we've allocated were in those parcels, and there could be mixed use. So there might be a business on the bottom, and the next level up, there might be apartments, for example. So there will be housing there. And we will be looking at other economic development areas as well. We've done a great job on our Downtown Business Coalition support. We hired an executive director. The city pays for that position. That's allowed our downtown businesses to completely thrive. We actually helped them during COVID too, when things were kind of slow. We helped with, for example, awnings so that people could have outdoor seating. We helped to design the way that people could put their seats outside if they didn't typically have outdoor seating, for example. We approved Golden State Orthopedic for one of our, it was an infill project for a spot that was up for sale, and this Golden State Orthopedic is coming from Walnut Creek, and we have over 300 jobs by the time that's set, good paying jobs. So there's a lot of work going on right now with economic development. Absolutely something we need to continue looking at. There was an opportunity somewhat recently of a lot of mayors, and including vice mayors, went to China. They were invited to China to take part in economic development discussions. Our mayor did not take part. Unfortunately, I didn't hear about it until it was too late. We heard a lot of stories after the fact. There was a lot of excitement from our neighboring cities of Antioch and Oakley. So I know that there's opportunities. I know our economic development team is out there, and they are really doing some great targeting. I asked for a report from them recently because we want to stay on top of that. They do a great job, but I also wanted the public to know, not just us. So that was a recent request of mine.
Where do you think the biggest frustration for voters and residents of Brentwood sits right now in terms of an issue is there an issue that you think really is kind of resonating through the community more than others?
Yes, I do. There's one that I hear about all the time, and it seems kind of like an unusual, if you want to talk about a priority area, keeping Brentwood Brentwood. And when I say that, I mean, for example, I'm on the Agricultural Enterprise Committee, and agritourism is a really big deal for us. We're surrounded by farms. We're the U-Pick capital. We've got 60 farms in a 4-mile radius where we can pick fruit. People love that. They're very proud of that. They're very proud of their legacy. They don't want to lose it. As Brentwood has gotten bigger, people have been afraid of that. Money from developments that took away farmland went into an agricultural enterprise fund that we just recently approved, an agricultural innovation center, where there's going to be education, there's going to be 4-H opportunities, there's going to be a chance for restaurants to go and pick up produce so that they can be more farm to fork friendly. There's a lot of different things that are coming with that, and I would say it's that keeping Brentwood Brentwood, not losing touch with the past as we kind of go toward the promise of the future.
Is it protecting those farms, or is it just making sure the vibe of Brentwood stays the same?
I would say it's a little of both. It's a little of both. We have very good relationships with our farmers. We have a harvest time organization that has maps, so when people come and pick cherries or stone fruit or corn, that they know where to go. They have this little beautiful pamphlet that, of course, the city funded, that they can go from farm to farm and pick what they want to pick. And so their partnerships are there. We can always do more. We've done wine trains recently, and I think we really need to focus on just things like when people come in to pick that fruit, keeping them in town, keeping them shopping, keeping them at our local restaurants, that kind of thing. But it is a challenge. A lot of people talk about is they're afraid of Brentwood losing that identity. So it's been something for me to really try and hone in on and listen to the residents and hear that.
Yeah. Come for lunch, stay for dinner.
Yeah, that too.
Shop in between. Do you agree that is there another issue that you see if residents and voters are saying to you on the campaign trail, hey, this is what I really am frustrated with?
I think that's a legitimate claim about the keeping. I would add keeping Brentwood's small town charm. Sometimes I think we lose that small town charm. When I first got here, people are welcoming, and as you grow, sometimes you can lose that small town charm. And I think agritourism is very, very important. Supporting, creating an atmosphere where we can have bed and breakfasts, where we can have people come in and stay the night and go to restaurants, as Vice Mayor has said. But I think that's a great opportunity to grow Brentwood in a way that will keep its history. I think everything that we do, we need to build on the past to go to the future. We don't always want to go someplace where we're not. We want Brentwood to be Brentwood. And I think it's important that we keep our small town charm. I think it's important that we build on our agricultural roots. I think it's important that we look towards the future.
You guys have both talked about very positive things with the city of Brentwood, that things are going in the right direction. This is a new seat with the current mayor no longer seeking re-election. In terms of, are you keeping the ship going in the right direction, or are you changing course? A lot of cities will talk about, we need to make a change, we need to do something different. Do you think Brentwood needs to make a change and do something different, or stay the course?
I think Brentwood needs to do a couple of things. I think Brentwood needs to focus on creating an environment so that businesses can grow and flourish. That would be number one. I think Brentwood should focus on keeping its small town charm. What do I mean by keeping its small town charm? Not bringing the politics, nationwide politics, down to small town Brentwood, acting the way they do on a national level. The small town charm, when I first got here 22 years ago, I'd meet you on the street. My neighbors would pick up my kids from school, drive them to my house. There was not this angst. There was not this, the way we conduct ourselves was different in Brentwood. You know, we have a saying in Brentwood, it's better in Brentwood. Our politics were better in Brentwood. And now we're bringing this national muck and mire down into Brentwood, which I really don't like. And I think we need to unite the community, align people around a common vision, get people working together, collaborating together, moving in one direction. I always say that I'm about addition and multiplication, not subtraction and division. And I think if there's one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to be about addition and multiplication, not subtraction and division. And I also think that I'm going to be focused on creating an environment where businesses can thrive and residents can benefit from the new type of businesses like beds and breakfasts, creating a feel that people that will take Brentwood to the next level. I just want to say that life is to me like a step of stairs, right? Nobody does something without building on the past. We always got to take it another level. When Brentwood graces me with the opportunity to be mayor, I would expect that the next mayor would do a better job than I did. And that's the way it goes. I expect my kids to do better than I did. We got to grow together. We got to thrive together.
All right, come for lunch, stay for dinner, stay the night, stay for breakfast.
Yeah.
We're building on that. Do you agree in terms of, are you staying the course, you making a change for Brentwood?
I would say we are doing a lot of staying a course with a lot of the things that we've been doing recently. And I want to mention, first of all, the affordable housing thing we talked about. We do have upcoming on an agenda that we want to try and raise it to 20%. So I think that is a change. And it's hard sometimes for people coming in and building houses to want to do that. It doesn't pan out, if you want to put it that way, but it's more important because our residents need places to live. In looking at the small town businesses, I think it's really important that we support them. The city has a land use and development committee. I was lucky enough to serve on it one year. We kind of had try to rotate those things, but it's where we can give grants to local businesses who are doing events or fundraisers. We've done it with nonprofits. We've also funded recently something for the chamber to do some educational components for their small businesses. I think it's important that we keep those things going. There are some things that have to pivot, of course, as we talked about before. The housing is going to slow down. We have to make sure we're focusing on the business. But I do think that we're kind of launching into this really critical time. And I think it's really important in this period of time that we do have this vision, that we've talked about this vision before, and that we're looking at the things that we've done in the past couple of years and just expanding on those. I think we've done a very good job with that, I would say. There's things that we could change when it comes to jobs. Our jobs housing balance is part of that. I kind of go back to the housing all the time. But most of our residents commute at least 45 minutes each way. And so bringing those businesses in that can actually help people stay local and not have to commute so far and spend more time with their families, that's something we really got to focus on.
Can we talk services, whether it's public safety, unhoused population, in terms of where Brentwood is doing in those spaces?
Absolutely. So if we're talking unhoused, I'll start with that. We have a dedicated officer who has a team of people that work together on addressing unhoused situation. And in fact, I would say it's something I've made a priority personally because we get a lot of questions about it. I mean, to be fair, Brentwood has a mixture of people that are finding the unhoused where they're living and delivering food and blankets and clothing and tents and money. And then we have another section that are very concerned because, for example, their kids walking to school might pass a potential encampment and they're worried about that. So we do have it's a delicate blend of people and where they fit in with this. We contract with the core department of the county, And they come out and they offer services whenever our officers can find an unhoused resident who is actually willing to look at that. Are they ready to accept those services? When I've gone on a point in time count, because if I'm talking about this, I need to educate myself. You do them every year. They're like 4:30 in the morning. You meet up at the police station with volunteers, Corps members, police officers, and me. And you get in the car together and you go identify what could be potentially homeless encampments, which a pile of blankets or a grocery cart with some items in it. And you count those. And so I can tell you that our most recent count was 37 people. It stayed pretty stable. And I know that the successes are hard. We've had our officers who know the history of the people. They know what school they went to. They might talk to a family member out of state and accept something that they can deliver, food or a cell phone or something to an unhoused person. So I think we're doing a really good amount. There's always room for improvement there. I'd like to see more work on preventative, to be honest. But I would say Brentwood has given it some pretty good attention on that.
Let's let you focus on the unhoused situation in Brentwood and your thoughts.
Sure. Real quick, I just want to say that if we raise the percentage to 20%, developers will raise housing prices even higher, because they're going to have to offset that. Now, I'll get back to the housing thing. So, as the Vice Mayor said, I thought it was 32. There might have been 5 new ones that came in recently. I totally want to, this is going to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, and I fully agree that I might sound that way, but I totally want to give the unhoused people help, the services they need. I would propose having like a clinician go with the police officers. And the police department in Brentwood is doing an outstanding job of knowing who the people are by name, but I would propose having a clinician. I would propose getting them the services they need. But I also would add on that, if they decide to come back to Brentwood, I would try to make sure that they don't think this is the right place to stay. So over time, I want them to know, hey, we'll get you all the services that you want, that we can get you throughout the county, but I also don't think that we should encourage them to stay in Brentwood.
So in the minute that we have left, I'll let you address just public safety in general. Your police department's funded and fire department's funded in the way that you think is...
We have a 5th beat that we're trying to get for the last couple of years, and I want that to happen more immediate. It goes back to that vision that we were talking about, trying to make sure that happens. We're having a fire department that's coming downtown. We have another one that's there's 2 more as part of each Contra Costa, can't get this out, East Contra Costa Fire. I think all of this is necessary because you can't do any of the things that we've both talked about if you're not safe, if we're worried about paramedics coming to your house, or so you can't do any of that unless we have that basic safety covered.
Okay, and police and fire.
Police and fire. We did fund the 5th beat that Mr. Johnson talked about a few years ago, and I think there have been some really good points of progress made since then. In fact, we swore a new officer in last week. There was another couple in, I want to say 2 months ago. It's been a matter of being very careful about who you bring in. It has to be the right fit for the squad and the department and the city. There have been some lateral, for example. There have been some fresh graduates, which I think is wonderful. So we have to definitely look at that. Fire, we were able to annex in with Contra Costa Fire Department, and we didn't have to raise our taxes to do it, which was a really huge thing. That was hugely resident driven. There was advocates working very hard on that issue, and I'm really proud to say that was a huge success for us as well. And I would absolutely agree. Public safety, if you don't have public safety in place, Brentwood becomes an entirely different city. But I feel like we're on the right track there too.
Okay, all right. Thank you to you both for this great discussion. I want to thank both candidates for being here. We answered a lot of questions. There's always more topics that we didn't talk about that we always have time to want to talk more. Each candidate, though, now is going to have 2 minutes to make their closing statement. And Gerald, I'll start with you.
Okay, I want to first thank the League of Women Voters for allowing myself and the Vice Mayor to be here. Brentwood is at a pivotal moment, and I believe I have the experience and the dedication to lead us forward. My background in business, finance, and community service has equipped me to tackle the challenges that we face, creating a future where Brentwood can thrive. I'm deeply committed to fostering a community of unity and collaboration. I will support local businesses and ensuring that every resident, if I could ever get that out, has a voice in shaping the future of the city of Brentwood. I understand the needs of the community because I've lived there for 22 years. Your support is critical to me, and I humbly request your vote. Remember, together we thrive, and you can for more information, you can see me at www.geraldjohnson.com.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Susanna Meyer, your 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Again, I'm Susanna Meyer. I'm the current Vice Mayor of Brentwood, and I've been honored to serve on the City Council for almost 4 years now, and I also ask for your vote for mayor. I do feel like today's been a great discussion. I want to thank the Diablo Valley League of Women Voters and CCTV, and thank you very much for moderating so professionally. Obviously, that's your job. I've lived in Brentwood for 15 years. My sons are both local graduates, and I want to say, like, my very first experience in Brentwood was as a volunteer, and I've continued a life of service through this entire time. I spend a lot of time getting involved in the community, serving with local nonprofits. I'm very proud to say that I initiated our very first Community Day of Service. It landed this year, and we had over 700 volunteers in one day doing day projects and connecting and volunteer opportunities with our local nonprofits. It was very exciting. I'm also excited to say that I've done some great work in initiating ad hoc committees. The most recent one was our aging and disabilities, because we need to make sure our city's not only attainable, but also accessible. I would say we are at a pivotal moment, and Brentwood is, I want to say, a shining light. There's always things that we can do to improve, and the biggest thing for me is being resident-driven. We need to make sure that we're listening to the people that are reaching out to us, that we're being transparent with them, that we're responding to them, we're giving them the chance to speak and share their both concerns and their things that they're happy about. So I would urge people to reach out to me at susannameyer.com. And that, I would love to hear from you. I would love to talk with you. I'd love to give you a lawn sign. Thank you so much for today. I felt really good about this conversation. I hope everyone out there got some really good information that will help you make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. And that does conclude today's candidate roundtable for the Mayor of Brentwood. Once again, your candidates are Susanna Meyer and Gerald Johnson. And for more information about the candidates, you can visit vote411.org. And to view this broadcast online or to get more voting information, you can go to contracostavote.gov/elections. And for information on election security measures, you can visit secure-election.org. I'm Claudine Wong from KTVU. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to vote on November 5th.
Yes.